Hi, it's Smurf again. It's week 2. I'm just starting to get together some of the gear to do some recording, so I haven't started yet, but I'm on my way. And in the meantime, I'm going to give you another little story. Back in the 90s, I was working in the wholesale trade, and it was the kind of place that supplied goods to pound stores, and you'd probably pick up some of their toys in a crane machine if you went to the seaside sometime and went into one of the arcades. So that was the kind of place I was working. We were very big on cheap Chinese imports, and in fact one of the big boosts we got at Christmas was when Trading Standards came on the TV and started to tell you about all the nasty toys, dangerous toys that you shouldn't be buying, which was pretty much everything that we stocked at the time. I remember one occasion we had fireworks that we bought. Now you'd think the Chinese were pretty good at making fireworks, but it didn't appear to be the case. Not in the ones that we bought anyway. We opened up a new store and we decided to have a little bit of a celebration for our launch. Laid on a few of these fireworks and we sent up the first lot of rockets, and one of them went up about 8 feet and exploded, and it showered our guest celebrity, Ken Morley, in white hot shards of magnesium. But we patted him down. I think he had to roll over 2 or 3 times, but he was fine. Wasn't a problem. Those kind of days involved lots of hard work and lots of long hours, and I hated bank holidays. In fact, I think everybody hated bank holidays, because it meant that you were working very long days, and it was on days when everybody else in the world was having some time off and lying in and going for weekend breaks, flying out of the country, going to the beach, whatever. I was working, so not something I enjoyed, but we made the best of it. And it was a very lucrative time for that kind of business, because you had open days on those days and you invited the public in. You'd have a big publicity campaign for the area, local papers, local radio, flyers all over, cars everywhere, and we pushed the boat out for the customers there. You know, we'd make sure all the staff didn't park in the car park, so that we'd have plenty of car parking spaces, which of course meant that the staff had to park on the main road, which in Dagenham at the time wasn't particularly a good idea, because when you'd finished your shift and decided to go home, you might not find your car there, or if you did, it wouldn't have hubcaps, or perhaps wheels, or perhaps a window had been put in and your stereo had gone. But that's the breaks, isn't it? That's what you get for living around there. As long as the customer was satisfied, we were okay. And so we put on additional to obviously giving them extra car parking spaces, we'd lay on a barbecue, and the barbecue was looked after by Sonia, who'd obviously struggling a little bit because she had one hand in a bandage, and that was because of the fact that we just let her come back from casualty, because she'd had a little bit of a mishap with a carving knife and separating frozen burgers earlier on in the day. But people were still eating off it. And we had a bouncy castle for the kids, and the bouncy castle was looked after by a girl called Stacey. I don't remember much about her apart from the fact that she had probably the biggest boobs I'd ever seen in my life. I do remember obviously that she didn't really have a lot of experience, or in fact interest in looking after a bunch of children on the bouncy castle. And in fact, looking over at the kids there, it looked a little bit like the battle scene from Gladiator going on over there. We had children slamming into each other, punching each other, swearing, throwing each other over the sides. There was lots of crying and screaming, and she was looking on pretty much oblivious. And this was even more galling when I later on found out that we had a child there, a young lad, who was suffering from a condition where if he had cut himself, we wouldn't have been able to stop him bleeding, because his blood did not clot. And I wonder now at the trust his parents must have had, this kind of blind faith in letting us look after their rather fragile child. Well, anyway, Stacey was deciding, I think, that looking after a bunch of under 10s was probably not for her, and was looking for a way out. And she decided she'd, feign going to the toilet. So she called me over, I think, out of desperation, because I know she hated me. So it must have been she couldn't have got anyone else to help. And I was a little bit daunted of the fact of looking after children. I didn't have children of my own at the time. I was only a youngster then, and I'd had no experience with relations children, or anybody's children for that matter. In fact, I wasn't even sure if I liked children or not at that point. But it was a bit too late, because by this point Stacey was halfway across the car park, and she hadn't really waited for an answer. She just expected me to go and help, so I did. But then she remembered, as she got halfway across the car park, that she ought to tell me about this young lad with this problem, you see. So she looked over her shoulder and shouted at me. Imagine the fact that I've got no experience with children, so I didn't know what to expect. But she basically leaned over and shouted, "Watch out for that one. He's a necrophiliac."